Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I want to preface this by saying that my cousin is family, and I've always wished the best for her. But the recent events surrounding my upcoming wedding have left me at a complete loss. My cousin, Tara, is my father's brother's daughter. When she was 5 years old, my uncle, her father, passed away unexpectedly. It was a tragedy that rocked our family. He was a young man, and nobody knew that he had a heart condition, so his death came as a complete shock to everyone. Tara's mother, my auntie Liz, was left to raise her alone, and she struggled because she was always a stay-at-home mother without any degree. My parents, feeling a sense of responsibility, stepped in to help. For years, they provided financial support, not only for day-to-day expenses, but also for bigger things, education, bills, even some family trips. They never asked for anything in return. They just wanted Tara to have a shot at a stable future. Growing up, I watched my parents go out of their way to make sure Liz and Tara had what they needed. My mom was like a second mother to Tara. She'd take her shopping for school clothes, help her pick out school supplies, and even bake her birthday cake when Liz didn't have the time or money. My dad helped out with larger expenses, paying for medical bills and car repairs so Liz wouldn't have to worry. My parents weren't rich, but they were well off enough to lend a hand, and they never hesitated to step in when Liz asked. In their minds, it was the right thing to do. When Tara turned 18, my parents gave her a large sum of money to cover her college tuition. Everyone in the family was thrilled. Tara had always been bright and full of potential. At first, everything seemed fine. She enrolled in a local university, excitedly talked about her classes, and even called my parents regularly to tell them about her professors and assignments. It felt like all the support my parents had provided was paying off. But after one semester, things changed. Tara announced that she was dropping out. She said that college wasn't what she expected, that she felt unfulfilled, and that she needed to find herself before committing to a career. Instead of returning for the next semester, she took the remaining tuition money and used it to travel. She visited several countries, attended yoga retreats, participated in art workshops, and generally embraced the self-discovery lifestyle. Her social media was filled with pictures of exotic beaches, colorful markets, and inspirational quotes about following your heart. While she seemed happy, my parents were furious. They felt betrayed and robbed. This wasn't what the money was for, and Tara knew it. When Tara ran out of money, she returned home and asked my parents for more. This time, they refused. My dad told her she had made her choice, and they weren't going to keep funding a lifestyle that wasn't leading to any long-term stability. Liz backed Tara up, arguing that my parents had a responsibility to help because they were better off financially. My dad stood firm, saying they had done more than enough and that it was time for Tara to take responsibility for her decisions. Liz and Tara didn't take it well. They accused my parents of turning their backs on family, of being cold and uncaring, and even of flaunting their wealth while others struggled. The relationship deteriorated quickly. Liz and Tara stopped speaking to my parents, and for years, they remained out of touch. I only heard about them occasionally through mutual relatives, and from what I gathered, their bitterness hadn't faded. Fast forward to the present. I'm engaged and planning my wedding. My fiancé comes from a well-off family who offered to cover all expenses, so we decided to have the wedding of our dreams. We booked a stunning venue, one of the best in town. I sent invitations to everyone in the family, including Liz and Tara, thinking it might be an opportunity to reconnect and maybe mend old wounds. At the end, she is my cousin, and my father loved his late brother, her father, deeply. I know despite everything she has done, my father cares for Tara. At first, I didn't hear anything back from them. Then Tara reached out, asking to meet and talk. I thought perhaps she wanted to patch things up, or at least clear the air. Instead, it turned into one of the most awkward and uncomfortable conversations I've ever had. When I arrived, Tara wasted no time expressing her opinions about my wedding. She accused me and my fiancé of being wasteful and selfish. She said we were throwing away money on superficial luxuries while she and her mother were struggling to get by. She said I should be ashamed. Then she dropped her bombshell. She wanted me to tone down the wedding and use the money I'd saved to fund her college education. She claimed she was finally ready to go back to school and turn her life around, but that she couldn't afford it without my help. I was stunned. For one, the idea of altering the wedding my in-laws are paying for just to give her more money was absurd. And second, she had already been given that chance. My parents had given her everything she needed to go to college, and she chose to waste it on traveling the world and finding herself. I told her as much. I explained that the money my fiancé and I were spending was my in-laws, and even if it was mine, I wasn't going to change our wedding plans. I also pointed out that she had her opportunity and chose not to use it. Tara didn't take it well. She accused me of being heartless, of not caring about family, and of flaunting my wealth in her face. She said that by having such a fancy wedding, I was essentially rubbing salt in the wound of her financial struggles. She then threatened not to come to the wedding at all if I didn't help her. At that point, I was done. I told her I was sorry she felt that way, but I wasn't going to change my wedding or give her more money. If she didn't want to attend, that was her choice. Then I stood up, paid the bill, and left. Since then, Tara and Liz have been telling other family members that I'm selfish, that I care more about appearances than about family, and that I've let money go to my head. Some relatives have asked me if I can do something to help them. I don't think it's fair to ask me this. My fiancé and I are excited for our wedding, and we refuse to let guilt trips or accusations ruin what should be one of the happiest days of our lives. So, Reddit. Am I the a-hole for refusing to fund my cousin's education and sticking to my wedding plans? Wow, OP's cousin is acting incredibly entitled and manipulative. It sounds like OP's parents have already done far more for her and her mother than most people would have. They gave her the money to go to college, and she made the choice to spend it traveling and finding herself. That was her decision, not OP's, and it's not OP's responsibility to bail her out now that she's regretting it. OP's wedding plans are something OP and her fiancé have dreamt of and planned. It's absurd for her to demand that OP change all that just to fund her second chance at education, especially when she's already wasted the first. Threatening not to attend the wedding just because OP won't give her what she wants is beyond unreasonable. She's not entitled to OP's money, OP's in-laws' money, OP's parents' money, or anyone else's. OP is doing nothing wrong by saying no and focusing on her own future. And now let's hear the community's opinion. I'm really sorry you're dealing with this kind of family drama. It's clear that your cousin doesn't understand boundaries, nor does she seem to appreciate the opportunities she's already been given. Your parents went out of their way to support her and her mother for years, and they even gave her a huge financial gift so she could attend college. That gift wasn't thrown away by your family. It was squandered by your cousin when she decided to travel and find herself. It's frustrating that she's trying to guilt you into paying for her next attempt at college, especially when you've worked so hard to save for your wedding. That money is for you and your fiancé to celebrate your future together, not for her to demand a second chance at an education she's already rejected once. The fact that she's turning this into a "you're selfish" situation is unfair and manipulative. You're absolutely not the a-hole for standing your ground and saying no to her demands. Your cousin needs to take responsibility for her choices, rather than relying on family handouts. Wow, your cousin's sense of entitlement is on another level. She already had her chance. She was given the financial means to go to college, and instead, she decided to use that money for traveling. That's on her. It's unfair and unrealistic for her to now demand that you, on the eve of your wedding, suddenly take responsibility for funding her education. You and your fiancé have clearly worked hard to save for this day, and you have every right to spend your money how you see fit. Her blaming you for flaunting your wedding and using that as a reason to shame you is manipulative. The reality is, she's upset that she's not getting what she wants, and she's trying to guilt you into fixing the situation. It's not your job to bail her out. If she truly wants to go back to school, she can find a way to make it happen, just like countless others do. Not the a-hole, and don't let her threats ruin your celebration. You've done nothing wrong. Not the a-hole. Your cousin's demands are completely unreasonable, and the way she's trying to guilt trip you is beyond inappropriate. Your parents were incredibly generous with her in the past, They gave her the chance to get a degree, and she chose to blow it on travel. That was her decision. It's not your responsibility to fix that. The money you've saved for your wedding is yours, and you and your fiancé deserve to enjoy the day you've worked so hard to plan. Scaling back your wedding so she can get another shot at college would not only be unfair to you, but it also wouldn't address the underlying issue: her inability to take responsibility for her own choices. And the fact that she's threatening not to attend your wedding just because you won't give her what she wants is manipulative and childish. You have every right to put your wedding first and say no to her demands. Your cousin needs to grow up and figure out her own solutions instead of relying on family handouts. I, 17 female, have a sister, Sabrina, who is 3. I was visiting last weekend with my dad and stepmom, and she left all her accounts and things open on a laptop, and I saw that Sabrina has a college fund. To reiterate, she is 3. I brought up that I didn't see a fund for me at dinner. She told me I should talk to my mom and dad about it. I found this weird because her and my dad have been together since I was 5. I just thought it was so unfair that they wouldn't have money set aside for me also. So I brought up her blatant favoritism for my little sister, since she already has a college fund at the age of 3. She gets all mad and says that I'm asking the wrong person. I told my mom when I got home, and she said that my dad and stepmom should have money for me for college. Today, my dad calls me and says that I would have to go to local community college, and he would pay 50% of tuition for college. I told him that it was BS, that the focus should go to me since they have plenty of time to worry about Sabrina later. He just said 50% is what I'm getting, and I would have to pay the rest or take out a loan. So I called my dad the a-hole for favoring Sabrina. Read between the lines. Your dad is broke. This is your stepmom's money funding her kid's college fund. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. This has clearly arisen from the forward planning of your stepmom for your 3-year-old sister, but you're not her responsibility in the same way. If you are aggrieved for the absence of a college fund, that's your mom and dad's fault. But your dad has come to remedy his end by offering 50% of a community college. That's not a bad deal, really. You're the a-hole. In my opinion, it's the responsibility of your mom and your dad if they wanted to provide such a fund. Not all parents think it is their responsibility to provide a college fund for their children. Maybe when your dad and your mom were together, they did not think much of a college fund, and so therefore did not set one up. It was a different time back then. Maybe when your dad met your stepmom, they thought it would be a priority for their daughter, and they set one up. And it's not the responsibility of your stepmom and your dad. Ask your parents, your mom and dad, what the deal is. If they wanted to provide funds for your college, they should have done so. It is their issue, alone. It has nothing to do with your stepmom or your half-sister. If your mom says otherwise, it means she's trying to throw the responsibility and blame off the shoulders of her and your dad. You are their daughter, onto your dad's wife, most likely to feed the fires of the blame game. In all actuality, it was always the responsibility of your dad and your mom. Do not blame your half-sister or your stepmom for this issue. It rests solely on the shoulders of your dad and your mom. For context, I, 44 male, divorced my ex, 39 female, 3 years ago after I found out she was having an affair. It was a long and messy divorce, especially since she refused to leave our marriage and kept begging for a second chance. In the end, she gave up, but she insisted not to tell the kids about the affair, as she didn't want them hating or refusing to spend time with her. She is a great mother, so I agreed. I told the kids that me and her had disagreements that couldn't be solved, and for everyone's best interest, us being apart would be for the best. We also share joint custody. However, a few months ago, my oldest kid, 17 female, ended up discovering the real reason why we divorced. I don't know how. She refuses to tell me, but I'm sure it's all because my ex recently announced that she's engaged to Jim, her affair partner. My kids hated him from before, but after my kid revealed the information to her twin and her younger brother, they loathe him and my ex. They've become extremely rude and avoidant towards them, and are now refusing to spend any sort of time with them. With the holiday season approaching, merry belated Christmas, my ex decided to ask me to intervene. She told me that she wanted me to sit down with the kids with her and to explain that it was never an affair, but basically that we disagreed about our marriage. She kept insisting that the kids are becoming more hateful every day, and tearfully said that they're blaming her for ending our marriage and their relationship with her. I didn't say anything, merely said that they were speaking the truth, and deserved to feel however way they needed to feel about this. We got into a massive argument, and she ended up storming off, saying she won't be celebrating Christmas with ungrateful brats who hate her. She insinuated that I do the same, but I refused. We spent each Christmas together for the kids, but this time she was a no-show. So on Christmas Eve and day, they came over to my place, and we had a fun family gathering. They opened their presents, and overall we had a great time. In the morning, I posted several pictures of us together saying how great Christmas is with family, which my ex saw. I still have her on Facebook because sometimes she texts me stuff related to kids. She was screaming, saying I made her look like the bad guy now because everyone will notice she isn't with me in the picture, and how she didn't buy them gifts. She asked that I take away the presents until they apologize for being cruel to their mother, and to apologize to her affair partner, or at least to withhold them until she buys them some. I refused, and told her she's dealing with consequences of her own making, and since Christmas she's been posting vague posts about how horrible her old family is, and how cruel love can be. Am I the a-hole for refusing to punish my kids, or sit down with them to justify my ex's cheating? Not the a-hole. Your ex-wife sounds like a narcissist, to be honest, and if the kids want nothing to do with her, that's their prerogative. It's up to her to fix her relationship with them, not you. Not the a-hole. Your ex is unhinged. Your kids should be allowed to have a decent holiday with their parent. She's the one who made herself look like an a-hole for not showing up or getting them gifts. She's reaping her consequences from her crappy choices, and that doesn't reflect on you whatsoever. Punishing your children for finding out about her affair and reacting to it would be insane. She's just filled with guilt and shame and is trying to place that on you. Not the a-hole. The first time, it wasn't about actively lying to your children, but concealing the truth of her affair because they didn't need to know. Now they know, and she wants you to sit with her and lie to their faces about why your marriage ended, and not for them, for her. Her response to you declining is to spend no time with her children on Christmas Day. She clearly thinks she's the main character in this movie. How long before she realizes she's the villain? I, 34 male, am the oldest of 4 siblings. My younger brothers are Tommy, 30, and Jack, 27. My sister Amanda is 23. This story centers around Jack. From the age of 19 until 23, Jack was in an on-off relationship with Grace. To put it mildly, Grace is a horrible person. Emotionally aggressive, gaslighting, cheating, all them wonderful things and more. Unfortunately, Jack was wrapped around her finger. She would be her usual crappy self. Jack would leave her for a while. She'd love bomb him and he'd come back. Eventually, he came around after our mom passed and she was gleeful about it since the two didn't get along. It took some time in ignoring repeated contact, but he moved on to our delight. Jack began dating Emily a little over 3 years ago, and she's honestly a beautiful person. I don't mean that as a physical descriptor. She's the most loving person you could meet. A year into their relationship, Emily was pregnant. 9 months later, their son Harry was born. He has since proposed to Emily, who accepted. He had it all. But then X contacts Jack and drops a bombshell. She has it on good authority that Jack is not Harry's father. When Jack tells us, we all laugh it off, telling him she just can't stand him being happy. This seemed to knock some sense into him, but only a week later, he does a 180 and tells us he's going to tell Emily he wants a DNA test on Harry. By Jack's own admission, Emily did not freak out, allowed Jack to make his case, and calmly told him that she would not stand in the way of a DNA test, but told him that if he goes through with it, when it comes back positive, she will be handing back the engagement ring. I don't know if Jack thought she was bluffing or if he was just swayed by the words of his ex, but he brought home a DNA testing kit, and shock and horror, it's a match. True to her word, Emily gives him back the ring, says they will sort custody amicably, and asks that he leave. Jack was due to come to Christmas with Emily and Harry, turned up by himself, broke down in our dad's living room, and told us what he'd done. My dad put his hand on his shoulder, looked him in the eyes, and said, "Son, you're a ducking idiot," and went back to the kitchen. Nobody spoke until Jack asked if anyone had anything to say, and I just unloaded on him. Told him he ducked up the best thing he'd ever had, all because of the word of an evil piece of crap, put a huge roadblock in front of us all seeing his son, and to top it all off, ruined Christmas. Amanda and her boyfriend echoed this sentiment, though our other brother Tommy did come to his defense a bit. Because of all this, dinner was eaten in silence, no drinking games played or movies watched. In the 2 days since, Jack has barely left his old bedroom, hasn't really spoken to anyone, and the atmosphere at my dad's is grim. I feel bad for unloading on him knowing his history with his ex. Am I the a-hole? Edit 1. So to clear a few things up, there's been a few comments justifying the request for a DNA test. Harry was conceived during virus in 2020. At the time, both Jack and Emily were working from home, not socializing, and doing literally everything together. It was literally impossible for anyone else to have impregnated her. I am aware his request is rooted in the aggression he suffered at the hands of his ex. On the subject of aggression, a few comments have suggested that we sat back and allowed Jack to be a victim. I don't think anything in my original post indicated that. But to be clear, Jack being manipulated by her took a toll on us all. We didn't just let it happen. We would try to help him see her for what she is. And on the rare occasion we would get him to see sense, she would reel him back in. Unfortunately, convincing someone they are a victim of aggression, especially a man, can be an exercise in futility. Regarding therapy, when he had, seemingly, moved on from his ex once and for all, he did so with such conviction, laughing at her pathetic attempts to love-bomb him all over again, that at that point, it didn't occur to us. Naivety on our parts. Given what's now happened, as per suggestions, we all agree this would be the best thing for him now. There's been some suggestion that Jack has continued to see Grace in the years since. I don't think this is the case. Certainly not since they moved in at the start of the virus. They've been more or less inseparable since, and Jack still mostly works from home. My concern is that this could be the very thing to send him straight back to her. Edit 2. Jack has emerged from his room. We've all had a bit of a hug and cleared the air somewhat. We've ordered some pizza and we're going to watch some movies. Tomorrow we'll begin to try and fix things, including a suggestion of therapy. Absolutely not the a-hole. Your whole family tried to explain what was going on by his ex reaching out to him. He keeps choosing to believe this toxic ex instead of loving fiancé, and he paid the price for it. Some lessons have to be learned the hard way, which your brother Jack found out. Hopefully that's enough to finally cut the cord with his ex for good. No one in your family is the a-hole for telling him like it is. He needs to be told how it is, not coddled. Otherwise, he'll never grow up. Not the a-hole. I would highly suggest he goes to therapy before trying to win back his fiancé, or this will just keep happening. He needs to address the damage his ex did to him. However, the family can reach out to Emily, offer to be there for your nephew in a way she is comfortable with. Emily deserves better than to be stuck in a relationship where her partner baselessly lends his ear and takes the words of a vindictive ex over hers. And Jack needed this big fat reality check, not the a-hole. I, female 27, received an inheritance when my grandmother passed away when I was 16. It went into a trust since I wasn't an adult. I didn't need it for school, and my parents didn't make me pay to live with them when I was a student. I met my husband in high school, and we went long distance when he was accepted into a great school out of state. He got a lot of financial assistance, and his parents helped him, so he didn't have to take out student loans. When we got married, we used some of my inheritance for a down payment on our home. We are not like some people. Our finances are our finances. We both work and pay for everything together. My in-laws are not well off, but they are not poor. They did not go into debt to help their son with his education, but they hold it over his head. Every time that we get together, they insist on questioning his life decisions. He loves them and will not tell them to leave him alone. I've spoken to him about it because I can see it hurts him, so together we decided to end this. We saw them for Thanksgiving, and when they started in on him about going back to school to get his MBA, instead of just working, he told them to drop it. He said that just because they helped him did not give them the right to dictate his life. Any decisions he made for his future were for us to make and not them. They acted very insulted and said that they were his parents and they had a right to their opinions. He said he didn't want to hear their opinions about our finances anymore. Well, we just got home from visiting them over Christmas. It was a crap show. They started in on all their children, saying how each one should be making better decisions since they weren't going to be there to fix their problems with money. As we had agreed, I had my checkbook ready. I pulled it out and asked them to please tell me the exact amount they wanted for their son's education. I said that I would pay them and then expect them to never bring it up again. They got very upset. They said it wasn't about the money. It was their children they were looking out for. All his other siblings told me that I was being an a-hole for telling my in-laws how to talk to their kids. 2 of them have borrowed money from them, and 1 still lives at home and needs them for school. We don't need them for their money. My in-laws finally agreed that they would not talk about our choices, but when we left, it was still very tense. My husband and I are satisfied with how it turned out, but his family is still mad at us. Are we the a-holes? Not the a-holes. Your in-laws sound manipulative. They need to work on their boundaries. Some people need you to spell it out for them, which sucks, but you made a necessary bold move to instigate a bit of change. Not the a-hole. Your in-laws need to learn boundaries and have to respect their children's privacy. They were asked nicely to stop bringing it up and refused. You and your partner came up with a solution, and voila, it worked. Kudos to you, and best luck with your future. Not the a-hole. You took away the leverage your husband's parents thought they had over him. They can still offer their opinions, but that's it. Hopefully this will be an awakening for them, and they will form a better relationship with you both as adults who are responsible for making your own decisions. I'm not sure how his siblings play into this, but if they are mad, I suspect it's only because you made it clear you are not financially dependent on your in-laws for anything, while they obviously still are. Their parents may double down on pressuring them now,